I'm Toby Abaje and you're watching Buckingham News. While the National Union of Students is pushing for Britain to stay in the EU, the union has recently come under fire for their recent presidential election. With universities now threatening to leave, it's a difficult time for the NUS. Laura Hughes has the story.
Students from several universities, including Oxford and Cambridge, and now Buckingham, are threatening to vote to break away from the National Union of Students, following the undemocratic election of the new president, Malia Bouattia, the NUS's first black female Muslim leader. Ms Bouattia has been accused of making anti-Semitic remarks, including calling the University of Birmingham something of a Zionist outpost. Comments she claims were political and not religious.
The Students' Union is exploring the possibility of disaffiliation, mainly because at the moment we see that the NUS isn't really representative of students' interests or needs anymore.
Universities where groups lobbying for disaffiliation referendums have already started campaigning, including Oxford, Cambridge, Manchester, Birmingham, York, Exeter, Aberystwyth and King's College London. With a spokesperson for Oxford saying, obviously her election enshrines the fact that NUS no longer represents all students, but there are other grievances we have with the rest of the organisation. There are other reasons we think that the organisation is no longer reformable. With the NUS in place since 1922, it's possible that it operates an outdated system that doesn't represent students. It's now time for the students to decide what's best for themselves. This is Laura Hughes, Buckingham News.
In other NUS-related news, last week the National Union of Students hosted a conference from the 19th to the 21st in Brighton. It opened with keynote speakers declaring their support for the UK to remain in the European Union. Vilde Elgarn has the story.
We stand together with you for a progressive Europe built on human rights, cooperation and freedom, and we are looking forward to campaigning for that Europe over the next 2 months together.
The NUS will be campaigning up to the deciding vote for the Union to remain in the EU. NUS National President Megan Dunn says students must stand together for a progressive Europe.
We believe that all students are allowed to vote which way they want. They're free to vote as they please. And we don't think it's the SU's role to make decisions for students.
In recent years, British students travel, study and work abroad more than previous generations. However, leaving the EU would lead to students missing out on opportunities to study abroad in Europe. With so many international students coming in from Europe to study at the University of Buckingham, Brexit could discourage foreign students from coming to the university. Students will have to wait for the vote on the 23rd of June to know what drastic changes will be made to their future. This is Vilde Elgarn reporting for Buckingham News.
The EU referendum, the issues, the contest, the likely results, is the third in a series of talks held at Ondaatje Hall, hosted by BBC producer Peter Snowden. We sent Elisa Lee to find out more.
Journalist and contemporary historian Peter Snowden presented a lecture on the EU referendum, focused on the problems that have arisen from this complicated topic, and made an attempt to predict the results of the vote, as well as studying the likely aftermath for Britain.
Snowden is a political veteran, working for the BBC political programmes, as well as co-writing several biographies on Tony Blair, John Major and David Cameron.
They have concerns over migration and crime and access to welfare payments, and they argue that Britain would have much more control over its borders than it does currently.
The EU referendum on 23rd of June will decide if the UK stays in the European Union. And with the day fast approaching, it is important to look to the future of Britain.
The talk has opened our eyes to what is possibly yet to come and what is already happening. All that's left now is the result. This is Elisa Lee for Buckingham News.
Buckingham Fire Station, in partnership with the Buckingham School, began a 6-week health and wellbeing programme last week. The course, designed to improve the confidence and knowledge of youngsters, will be both practical and classroom-based. Paul Rutland went to find out more.
A health and wellbeing programme offering children aged 11 and 12 from Buckingham School access to weekly healthy lifestyle sessions is being run by Buckingham Fire Station. The sessions are run by firefighters themselves and allow students to take part in a range of activities based around what firefighters do in their day-to-day jobs.
Yeah, this is basically redoing school! This is a fun school.
12 Year 7 students from the Buckingham School are taking part in the course, which involves both classroom learning and physical activity-based elements. Structured to gradually build up the participants' knowledge, skills and confidence, as well as improving their awareness of the importance of healthy eating, the course will include talks from South Central Ambulance, Tesco's Farm to Fork initiative and fire safety from Buckinghamshire Fire and Rescue.
Giving them some skills in life that can help them through maybe some difficult times or even actually help other people. So we just decided that we wanted to get involved ourselves.
The youngsters were put through their paces by the watch at Buckingham Fire Station. After being kitted out, they learnt manual handling skills before team building activities including navigating blindfolded, smoothie making and minesweeping.
You can see them building and growing and talking and communicating to people that they've never even spoke to before, which is great to see. And people taking control that I would never expect in my year group, who have stood up today and said, right, this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it, which is fantastic.
Worn out but excited, these students have certainly learned something new today and will continue to over the coming weeks. This is Paul Rutland, Buckingham News.
For the past 24 years, the month of April has been used by healthcare professionals to raise awareness on the risks of stress. Stress can be caused by something as simple as remembering to pack everything for your holiday or bigger issues like money. How that stress is managed is the important factor. Rabiatu Baboy reports.
Stress is a common phenomenon experienced by everyone at least at some point in their lives. Whether it's at university, at home, or in the workforce, stressful situations are inevitable. However, increased stress levels can often lead to anxiety, depression, and other serious health risks if not monitored and relieved efficiently. Students in particular tend to ignore the warning signs of hazardous stress, especially during exams and coursework deadlines.
Students are going to become stressed, they are going to become anxious, and they're going to be under severe pressure. Really, to maintain a healthy, normal level of stress, you need to eat healthily, you need to sleep at the amount, get the correct amount of sleep that you need. You don't need to turn to alcohol, you certainly don't need to turn to drugs because that will not help your stress levels.
It is strongly advised that students seek professional help if their situation gets beyond their control. The university's welfare department offers such support for anyone in need of it. This is Rabiatu Baboy for Buckingham News.
In other news, the University of Buckingham is to start an MA in Dickens Studies by Research in London this September. World-renowned expert on Charles Dickens' work, John Drew will lead the course, while seminar speakers for the researchship include BAFTA Award-winning Miriam Margolyes and Professor Michael Slater, MBE, Britain's foremost Dickensian scholar. The life and works of William Shakespeare was celebrated on Saturday the 23rd of April, the 400th anniversary of his death. The playwright is widely regarded as the greatest writer in the English language.
The themes and characters that he shows are as relevant today as they were at the time that he was writing. You see characters under pressure, the issues of power, the breakup of power. Even the comedies are about love, getting into muddles. It's just the same today as back then.
A Buckingham student has set up a clothes bank after an eye-opening trip to Ghana last year. With help from the university and fellow students, Alicia Robinson has been able to send the first clothes shipment to Anov, a small village in southern Ghana. Many students leave behind unwanted clothes at the end of each term. The clothes bank is putting these items to good use.
The university was very receptive. Loads of students gave me stuff and we shipped it off last week. And I'm sure it will be of great benefit to many families and households.
Buckinghamshire County Council has confirmed plans to sell its 5 remaining gypsy and traveller sites. Budget pressures and lack of funding to invest in the sites means that preparations for sale are now underway. Kasia Adegbite reports.
Green Park in Amersham, the orchards at Charlesfont St Peter's, Mansion Lane at Ivor, Whipsey Woods at Gerrards Cross and Bottoms Walton are all gypsy, Roma and traveller sites across the county will soon be making way for new owners. Since 2004, the council has had no legal obligation to provide gypsy and traveller accommodation in the county, although they have continued to do so. In a statement, Buckinghamshire County Council said, We've been working with the residents of the 5 sites in the lead up to the decision. We know it represents change for them, but due to the financial pressures we are facing, we do not have the money to invest in the sites.
It's unfortunate that there's a lot of misunderstanding in the public discourse and in the media about this issue. I think a lot of people aren't aware of why the sites came about in the first place and how terrible the situation was for a lot of people. Because of a lack of legal transit sites or temporary stopping places, it's supposedly the opposite of what they're trying to achieve.
A final decision will be made before the sites are definitely put up for sale. Each site will be marketed according to the current planning conditions. I am Hashia Degbiter for Buckingham News.
A leaked government memo has revealed that the government cannot justify the £9,000 a year fees they charge university students. The paper suggests that even top universities lack the quality of teaching to rationalise the cost. Jason Dunn went to find out where our fees actually go.
When the government announced it would raise the cap on university tuition fees to £9,000 a year in 2010, ministers said that the move would lead to an increased focus on teaching quality. However, a recent government memo outlines that this hasn't been the case. But as the University of Buckingham is private, it is a special case within the UK, with home students paying £12,000 a year. What do we get for our money?
Fees can't cover our total costs, they only cover 89% of our total costs. So we lose money on every student that studies here.
The University of Buckingham's unique 2-year courses and small tutorial groups make it stand out amongst other universities in Britain. But for the money we pay, we can only expect the best.
I mean, that's the reason why I came. It was just a shorter period, and if it's gonna cost more, then I guess so be it.
You know, what you need to learn, and, you know, if you need help, you know, it's all there for you, so you have to get your money's worth.
It's beneficial to me as how I work as a student. It is absolutely worth it.
It's plain to see that students at the University of Buckingham are content with their quality of teaching and are happy to pay extra for the benefits that come from going to such a unique university. This is Jason Dunn for Buckingham News.
Last week, Thames Valley Police joined a European-wide campaign to crack down on speeding motorists. The campaign ran from Monday the 18th until Sunday the 24th of April. Zoe Briggs has more on the story.
Last week's 7-day-long campaign was targeted at who breaks the speed limit on our roads. The European Traffic Police Network are working in tandem with police forces around the UK, including Thames Valley Police.
During the campaign, we've been going out, we've been doing lots of roadside checks, issuing lots of tickets to people that aren't taking that extra care. This is the key message: keep within the speed limit. You will be much safer, the community around you will be much safer, and you're much less likely to get a ticket.
The dangers of breaking the speed limit are well documented, with over 3,000 deaths or serious injuries to be reported in 2013 to be as a result of speeding.
When you passed your driving test, you had to show a standard of driving to the examiner. If you were speeding on the day that you took your test, you would have failed. If you are speeding today whilst you drive your car, you are not driving in a safe, competent, careful manner, and you are a danger to yourself and others. Don't do it.
Speeding endangers lives and can lead to a hefty fine and points on your licence. The campaign's message: just don't do it. This is Zoe Briggs for Buckingham News.
And now, over to sports with Owen Hughes.
Thanks, Toby. The University of Buckingham Football Club played in the North Bucks and District Football League Division 1 trophy final last Wednesday night against Willen FC. With the University of Buckingham ranked second from bottom in the league and Willen at the top, it turned out to be a real David and Goliath matchup. Sherwin Tan has the story.
Buckingham kicked off their match against Willen at 7:30 p.m. The match was met with enthusiasm and high expectations as both teams fought to win the cup. The match got off to a flying start as home team Buckingham scored the opening goal just half an hour into the game. Sportsmanship flew out the window as a Willen player shoved main striker Rurio Oshima just after he scored the second goal. Teammate Olua Akinbi rushed to defend him, and the referee intervened quickly, issuing a yellow card. Buckingham retaliated by scoring another goal. Willen finally managed to snatch a goal from Buckingham right before halftime. They stepped up their game, scoring another goal just 5 minutes after the second half began. Willen continued to display appalling sportsmanship as the pressure got to the players. Not to be deterred, Buckingham clinched the winning goal just as the game came to an end. Buckingham players lined up to receive their hard-earned medals and a trophy for their efforts. The newly crowned cup winners celebrated their victory.
It was really a great game. We won 4-2, won the cup. Beautiful. So yeah, it feels like all the efforts we put in as a team has all been rewarded, and yeah, quite happy with it.
An epic end to an epic game. Here's to hoping the next season brings more victories. Shoain Tan, Buckingham News.
Last week saw the return of the Chandos Park Bowls Club now that the summer season is rapidly approaching. Cameron Hawtrey reports.
The aim of the sport is quite simple. Get your bowls as close as you can to the small white or yellow ball called the jack. Although it sounds easy, the challenge is that the bowls do not travel in a straight line, which causes difficulties for the players.
Chandos Park Bowls Club is always looking for members of all ages to take part in the sport. The club offers discount rates for new members and provides exercise as well as beautiful scenery as it's played outdoors.
We are trying to contact the local schools in the area to see if they'd like to come down and participate in a coaching session. You know, a lot of the schools do rugby and soccer and cricket, but not all of those pupils, you know, are sort of active in that manner. And bowls isn't quite as exerting as that, and they might enjoy the game.
The club was founded in 1967 and throughout its history has won 3 national titles, several county and home county titles, and has been home to 2 international players.
The club and facility is open on weekdays from 6 p.m. onwards, and every week they play friendly matches against neighbouring clubs, so why not come down and give it a try? This is Cameron Hawtrey for Buckingham News.
And now back to Toby in the studio.
Students living on campus are being forced to find alternative accommodation from September. Room contracts are not to be extended beyond their 12-month term. Nicole Mazzini went to find out more.
First-year students living on campus will have to find new accommodation for the start of their second year, after a letter from the accommodation office informed them that the university needs to ensure that there are sufficient rooms for those new students joining in September, and that therefore it will not be possible to extend any licence, and that the students will have to find their own alternative accommodation arrangements. Room contracts for September freshers are due to run out on the 9th of September of this year, forcing them to find alternative arrangements as soon as possible. A statement given to Buckingham News by the accommodation office said, "We are expecting a large intake of new students in September, and that at the moment our projections are indicating that we will not be able to renew any accommodation agreements for September because we will need the space for new students." Advice and help in finding new accommodation is being given by the accommodation office. This is Nicole Mazzini for Buckingham News.
An exhibition to celebrate the Queen's birthday at Buckingham Old Jail began on Friday the 8th of April. It also marks a celebration of her reign as the longest reigning British monarch. Karen Iyogwe has more.
Long to Reign Women Monarchs of Britain is the name of the exhibition that will commemorate the 90th birthday and long reign of Queen Elizabeth II.
The exhibition covers the reigns of all of the British queens, those that have actually been queen in their own right. So we go from the time of Catherine of Aragon up to Queen Elizabeth II, whose 90th birthday is being celebrated this year.
The exhibition will run from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. in the courtyard until the 1st of July. An accompanying booklet entitled Buckingham's Royal Tourists explains what can be found in the exhibition, and available souvenirs are in the museum shop.
We thought that the Buckingham's Royal Tourists would be very interesting for people that lived in Buckingham to know something about the history that we've had royalty visiting here for the last 1,000 years.
Visitors can see the transition from Queen to Regina and can examine their royal lives as women as well as monarchs. This is Karen Iyogwe, Buckingham News.
Scones, jam, cream and tea, all quintessential elements of the British summertime. Buckingham News' Sanaipe Lerionka had fun in the sun celebrating Our Majesty's birthday this past weekend with a proper royal picnic.
Nice and warm weather might be difficult to find in England, but if a solitary sunny day happens, it's good to make the most of it by organising a picnic. For this recipe you will need 375 grams of self-raising flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 85 grams of butter, 3 tablespoons of custard sugar, 175 milliliters of milk, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract and a beaten egg to glaze. Tip the flour into a bowl, adding the baking powder and a pinch of salt. Add the batter and rub with your fingers until a crumbly texture before adding the sugar. Heat the milk in a microwave for 30 seconds. Add the vanilla and lemon juice before pouring into a well-made and dry mix. Stir it together quickly. Pour the wet mixture onto a well-floured surface and combine until doughy. Roll the dough out, cut into 5 cm chunks before placing on a greased baking tray. Beat an egg and glaze the scones. Cook in the oven for 10 minutes at 220 degrees. Whilst the scones are baking, why not prepare refreshing iced tea and cucumber sandwiches for the perfect picnic basket? Here it is, a perfect royal picnic to celebrate the Queen's 90th birthday. It's not difficult to make and it's great to share with friends. This is Sanai Pelarionka for Buckingham News.
Thank you for watching Buckingham News.